My name is Aaryaa More, and I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I was mentored by Yixi Kennedy, and I chose to research multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes, and specifically their negative influences on victims and the current U.S. and international legislation, as well as how there can be an increased role of the U.S. government to optimize prevention and prosecution. The reason I chose to research this topic was due to my initial interest in marketing. I have had, gratefully, so much hands-on experience in marketing due to various internships, but I decided to take more of a academic approach, which is why I decided to research all the various sides of marketing. And that unfortunately includes a negative side, which is fraudulent scams such as multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes. I'd first like to start with an example that hits quite close to home. 45-year-old Matthew Motil, who is from Cleveland, Ohio, was caught in a Ponzi scheme in 2025. He ran a real estate business and he chose to extort victims for their houses, stating long processing times and promises of high returns on investment. Once a respected man with so many properties, he is now just one of so many examples of financial fraud. As a result, the Federal Trade Commission has reported in 2024 that around $12.5 billion have been lost purely due to financial scams such as multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes as well. As a result, it raises the inevitable question, to what extent should the US government intervene to reduce the magnitude of consequences that result from multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes? After much research, I concluded that there should be US intervention to a large extent. Specifically, the alteration and improvement of US legislation and budget requests with a focus on auditing and the role of government agencies such as the Securities and Exchange Commission and Department of Justice. First, we must understand a preliminary definition of MLM and Ponzi schemes. So, according to the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, multi-level marketing is a network of recruited participants in order to distribute a product or service. On the other hand, Ponzi schemes, according to the Security and Exchange Commission, is an investment scam that involves the payment of perpetual returns to existing investors from funds contributed by new investors. Now we can spend so much time looking at the disparities between multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes. We must focus on their very important similarity, the focus on recruitment. Now, both multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes have so many recruitment strategies, but it boils down to four major categories. Now, the FTC and SEC label numerous red flags of both these financial scams, but the most famous false promise that these organizers make is low risk and high reward, which attracts people that are looking for fast monetary gain. In addition to that, they tend to attract these victims with their use of modern and innovative products. Looking for something very flashy, individuals looking for fast monetary gain tend to gravitate towards these scams. In addition to that, they take a close look at their target audiences. According to the University of Pennsylvania's Annie Blackman, she reports that women, disabled individuals, as well as the elderly tend to look towards people that offer them quick monetary gain. These financial scams exploit trust. And according to researchers Elisa Bedrove and Shelley L. Gable, these individuals tend to gravitate towards people that offer them a sense of community, which is what these financial scams tend to emulate. But we first must look at current US legislation, which is used to combat this financial as well as emotional trauma. First, looking at the FTC Act Section 5, which specifically has been made to combat unlawful multi-level marketing companies. So the FTC Act Section 5 not only outlines numerous red flags of unlawful MLM companies, but it also outlines evaluation techniques of businesses from not only their product development, but their sales tactics as well. The SEC also has their Securities Exchange Act of 1934, which is, to note, not a specific does not have specific wording that combats Ponzi schemes, but its 39 sections essentially boil down to the fact that the SEC should have more intervention in the market to prevent such fraud happening. Next, looking at international legislation. Specifically looking at both China and Taiwan. Now, China has a complete ban. They only allow for direct sales, and there are numerous stipulations that must be followed, such as there must be extensive training of sellers and a capping of commission. Taiwan, on the other hand, is a little bit less extreme with their multi-level marketing sales act. Instead, they focus more on prevention, and that's why they have all MLM companies have a mandated detailed report. Now looking at how there can be an increased role of the US government, we can break it down into increased auditing and increased budget requests. So according to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, the SEC must look at certain financial statements provided by companies every 3 years. And their Exchange Act mandates three forms, which is the Form 10K, which is annual, the Form 10Q, which is quarterly, and the Form 8K, which is for specified occasions. And these financial statements are audited by independent auditors, and companies must provide this to the Securities and Exchange Commission. But what I am proposing is that instead of the Form 10K being annual, it should be biannual because this information, financial statements are increased, and in case an auditor detects material misstatements which are due to fraud, they're able to provide more information to the audit committee, so there's more information to spread information to show there's liability for the guilty parties. In addition to that, I am proposing that the Form 10Q should be audited on certain occasions where, again, the independent auditor finds material misstatements. Now, currently, the Form 10Q is only an interim financial statement, which means it cannot be included in the official auditor's report. But what I'm proposing that on certain occasions in which there are suspected material misstatements of financial fraud, it should be allowed to be audited and included and presented to the audit committee. Now looking at the importance of data analytics, which is essential to understanding why we must increase the budget for the SEC and the DOJ, is that the data analytics, especially how the SEC uses it in their division of enforcement through their earnings and per share initiative launched in 2018, is that it helps detect patterns in suspected fraudulent materials. It also allows for a more efficient and faster analysis of financial statements. But looking at how data analytics is so beneficial, but then looking at the amount of budget that has been requested by the SEC in 2026, there seems to be some sort of discrepancy. In the fiscal year of 2024, around $700 million were spent by the SEC. But in fiscal year 2026, there has only been around $682 million requested. That is a 2.2 decrease. Next, looking at the DOJ, similarly, there has been a decrease, but much, much more, with around 14%. What I am proposing is this gap to be closed, or in fact, for the requested budget to be increased more than the fiscal year of 2024, because of the importance of data analytics, especially as noted by former Assistant Attorney General Nicole M. Argentieri, who stated that especially for the Department of Justice, data analytics is absolutely in catching financial fraudulent mistakes or material mismanagement in financial statements. Throughout the course of this presentation, we have looked at multi-level marketing and Ponzi schemes, as well as the negative effects they have on victims. We know that they use a multitude of recruitment strategies, and because of this terrible impact they have on victims already, it is important for the US government to increase intervention tactics, either by increasing their budgets or even altering their legislation and the financial statements required to be sent to the SEC. Thank you.